It is Mother's Day, so I'm assuming you're thinking that I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Yeah.
But no. Today we're going to cook together. Does that sound okay? You?
I'll go to work.
Okay. Okay, so we always love having tea for Mother's Day or any sort of special occasion.
Yeah.
And you love a croissant.
I do.
You do. And
yes.
what's your favorite type of nut?
Pecans.
Pecans, whichever you call it. Mom loves a pecan. So, okay, so I wanted to do a little bit of a spin on an almond croissant, but instead of doing almond, we are doing peach pecan croissants, and I am very, very excited about it. I know, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be delicious. I know. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on a little bit of a syrup, because anytime you are making any sort of filled croissant, you wanna give it a bit of syrup. You know when you pick up an almond croissant and it's heavier than you think it should be?
Yeah.
That's because of the syrup. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's a good thing. Now, to get started on this syrup, I've got a little pan here over about, medium low heat. And into there, I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of water. Basically, we're making a simple syrup here. That's gonna bring everything together, give you a nice flavor build, and it's gonna kind of freshen up like day-old croissants. Because fun fact, almond croissants, they're old. They're tricking you. Yeah, they're always old, and that's a good thing.
I know.
Now, I'm gonna add in a 1/2 cup of sugar, and this is a good amount of sugar for this syrup, so we're actually gonna cut this sugar with a 1/4 cup of bourbon. Yeah, I'm very excited about this.
I like that part.
You like that part. Myra likes that part. We're good to go. And I'm gonna free pour the bourbon, because why not? It's Mother's Day.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Now, I'm gonna let that just reduce down, because I just want that syrup to dissolve. That's not gonna take long at all, just about like 3-ish minutes. But essentially, oh my gosh, as soon as it starts heating, you smell that liquor in the air.
It smells so good.
Right?
Yeah, it really does.
We're having a party today.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now while we're doing that, I'm gonna get started on the filling.
Okay.
So as opposed to using almonds, we're gonna use pecans, because this is in honor of you.
Thank you.
And you love a pecan.
I love a pecan.
She loves a frozen pecan. That's a Myra Berg hack.
Try it.
Yeah.
It's like candy. Yeah.
Yeah. So into this little food processor, can you add these pecans? So it's about 100 grams of pecans. You're gonna toss those in, and essentially what we're gonna do is make basically pecan flour, kind of like almond flour.
Okay.
But we're gonna blitz that up just until it's finely kind of ground up.
Okay, here.
Can we do it?
I did it.
Oh my gosh, Mom, that was really good. First time. Okay, now go.
Start now?
Yeah. Now this is gonna be loud, and that's okay. I'm also gonna make some more noise. Oh, that's going really quick, Mom.
It's going really quick.
You're almost done. Listen, that took a lot quicker than I thought, I'm not gonna lie. Myra Berg, you are a pecan crusher extraordinaire.
I am.
Fantastic job. All right, now into there, you're gonna add in, can you take the lid off for me? I'm gonna add in about 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. This is gonna kind of help firm up the filling for this, because essentially an almond croissant's filled with a frangipan, but we're doing like a pecan-a-pan, is what I'm gonna call it. Yeah, right? It's not bad. I'm gonna put a little salt in there too.
Okay.
Okay, now blitz that together.
All right.
While you do that, I have got 1/2 cup of butter in this bowl. That's perfect, Mom.
Okay.
You nailed it, you're done.
All right.
You're almost done for the day, I was
this.
gonna say. Have you ever made croissants before?
No.
No.
Are you insane?
I know, I was gonna say that is not your cup of tea.
I buy them.
You do buy them. But also, when you're making any sort of croissant, filled croissant, you're also using store-bought, I'm not gonna lie. And the ones from the grocery store are my favorite ones to use.
They're delicious.
The cheapies on that sale rack.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna add into this 1/2 cup of butter, I'm gonna add in 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. I like to use powdered sugar here. First off, because it has a little bit of cornstarch in it, so it thickens the filling up a little bit, and it dissolves really, really quickly. Also, when you, I've said this recently a lot, when you pour powdered sugar, the air is sweet, so you can kind of like—
I saw the cloud.
I know, you can kind of just taste the air. It's very good. All right, stand back.
Stand back.
Okay.
It goes
And this
everywhere.
is why my mom does not like cooking.
I don't like mess.
She does not like the mess. It is not her cup of tea. All right, so I'm just beating that together. And like with any sort of frangipan, I'm kind of loosey-goosey with it. So into there, I'm gonna add in 2 eggs. Mom, do you wanna crack an egg in with me?
Don't you remember what happened yesterday?
Oh my gosh, yesterday she had a fried egg, almost perfectly fried, dumped it down beside her stove. Erin had to pull the stove out, clean it out.
Oh, look at that mess I made. But
That's pretty good.
That's fine.
That was pretty good. Nicely done.
That's
All right,
perfect.
I'm gonna beat that up. And would you pour in a little bit of vanilla extract? Now, if I was doing a frangipan, like a classic almond croissant filling, I would add in a little bit of almond
just
extract.
tell me when.
Just a little glug. That's perfect. Nicely done, Mom.
Oh, there you go. Who knew?
I know. I was gonna say, Mom, you're signing yourself up for baking now in our house, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, really.
I know. All right, now you do make a mean molasses cookie, though.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, your recipe.
I know.
Yeah,
I
they're
jazzed it up.
delicious. They're really
She's
good.
my hype man. We got it. We got it.
I know.
All right, Mom, would you dump this mixture on into here?
Yeah.
And then this syrup is looking good. That sugar is almost fully dissolved. It thickens up. Now, when that comes together, would you just give it a mix? I'll give you a spatula. So just mix that until it comes together.
All right.
So this syrup is looking wonderful. Most of that liquor has burnt off, which is good. I'm gonna bring this baby
Don't spill that
over
on
here.
me.
I know, don't worry. I'm not gonna spill. No messes in the kitchen today. All right, now we're going to basically get these croissants ready for filling. So I've got some day-old croissants here. Again, you know that little rack near the bakery section at your grocery store with those like $2 croissants? Those are the ones you wanna use. They bake up so beautifully. So you're just gonna get those babies and cut them in half. Also, if you go to that like big bulk food store that's really big and you can buy like a weird amount of tomatoes, those croissants are always good too. So just cut those babies in half. And then what we want to do is we want to dip these into this syrup mixture. So I've got I know, it's kind of like making French toast, but with like sugar and bourbon.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? That's what Myra Berg says. All right, so I'm just going to split these open and get the bottom halves and just dunk them into this syrup. I know. That's gonna absorb that bourbon-y flavor.
It's got a lot of syrup.
It does have a lot of syrup.
Yeah.
Again, you want it to weigh more than it should. This is one of those like science experiments where it's like the mass is greater than the volume or something. I don't know, don't test me on it. Now, once I get those bottoms dunked in, Mom, would you bring that mixture over? Now we're gonna start kind of filling these babies. So if you, that's pretty good. I would have maybe mixed it a bit more, but you know what?
Well, there's still globs of butter. You didn't.
That's on me, that's on me.
Yeah, you didn't.
I set you up for
didn't
success.
glug the butter.
All right, so I'm gonna get, don't worry, I got it. I'm gonna get a little bit of this and basically just smear this down onto the bottoms of those croissants. Ooh. This pecan filling is out of control. It's super rich. If you wanted to switch out the nuts and do this with walnuts or hazelnuts, that would be beautiful as well. But would you grab some of those peach preserves, Mom? Just store-bought jam. And would you spoon a little bit of that on top of this almond filling situation?
Another glug?
Another glug.
Okay.
There's a lot of glugs in this recipe.
Is that enough?
That's perfect. No, you don't have to do peaches here. You could do something like cherries would be delicious. Any sort of flavor you're looking for. Even some fresh raspberries scattered in there. That looks amazing.
Doing an extra.
All right, now I'm gonna dunk those tops in a bit of that syrup as well.
Plus, all the glugs will melt.
Exactly.
So, you know, I figured it was on purpose.
Yeah, it's gonna glug out.
There you go, don't worry
Okay, so
about
you
it.
know how I say gloopy? Apparently Myra Berg says glug. So
Yeah.
that's the new thing. All right, now I'm just getting those all dunked in together. Pop those on top. Now, because we're making a croissant that's filled, I like to do a little bit of something on the top to kind of signal that this is different. So you put more of that delicious filling right on top. Just smear it on. And Mom, would you scatter that with some pecans?
Yeah, it makes a pecan stick too.
Exactly. It's food glue. You got it. Now, what we do after this is we take these babies. Oh, she wanted a lot of pecans. Get it? There you go. She's the neck. She's happy. I'm going to pop these into a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, just until they're golden brown and crisp. And once those bake up, the croissants taste like they're fresh baked. They are absolutely out of control. We end up with something that looks like this, which looks so good and gnarly and delicious. Like, out of control. All right. Now, the pièce de résistance is you take these crispy, feel how heavy that is, Mom?
Whoa,
That
yeah,
baby's
it's like
heavy.
a shoe.
It is like a shoe. It's like a delicious shoe. We're gonna pop those down onto a platter, just layer them down. That little bit of that pecan filling has oozed out and crisped up. It's absolutely delicious. Then if you wanna go a little fancy, we got a little bit of that powdered sugar.
Yeah.
And we just
I love
tap
doing that.
Do you wanna do it?
No, you do.
No, you're gonna do it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect, love it. Little bit of powdered sugar right on top. Beautifully done, Mom. All right, shall we give one a taste?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's mine. You want one?
Oh, I'm taking my own.
You're taking your own.
Okay, I'm taking my own.
She's having her own croissant shoot.
I got a
Cheers to
big
you,
one.
Mom.
Cheers.
Let's give it a go. Okay.
Oh my God.
Isn't that good?
Really good.
That's really good. We are making my almond croissant buns. Basically, you take the filling from an almond croissant, fill it inside a delicious rolled cinnamon bun dough, and you end up with the most delicious taste. Super easy, way easier than an actual croissant, and it's really, really simple to put together. So the first thing I want to start on is the frangipan. So the frangipan is that filling that you get inside of an almond croissant. It's super simple to put together. It's basically like an almond kind of sort of fudge batter. Very, very tasty. So the first thing you need is a 1/4 cup of butter. I've got unsalted butter in this bowl, just about a 1/4 cup in there, and I've just given that a little bit of a beat together. Now into there, I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of sugar, just plain granulated sugar. If you wanted for a little bit of a molassesy flavor, you could use brown sugar in here. That would be beautiful as well. So now you just wanna beat that together. And for a lot of frangipan recipes, like a more classic traditional French version, you would want to cream this until it's light and fluffy. But I'm not going to do that because honestly, I've done it well creamed, I've done it not well creamed, and they come out exactly the same. So I'm always going for an easier job in the kitchen. So into there, I'm going to throw in some eggs. So I need 1 whole egg. That's gonna help kind of bind. That egg yolk's gonna give a little bit of richness. And then I'm also tossing in an egg white. That egg white is gonna just kind of bring everything together, make it a little bit more firm so that frangipan holds up in that dough. It doesn't all melt to the bottom. It's gonna stay kind of in there and be absolutely beautiful. Now to flavor this up, I wanna add in 2 teaspoons of almond extract. And almond extract is strong. So if you are not a practiced free pourer when it comes to extracts, feel free to measure, but I'm gonna do 1, 2, there you go. Pop that in. And I'm also gonna add in a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And the vanilla extract doesn't really make these taste vanilla-y, it just somehow makes the almond taste more almondy, which is really, really great. So about a teaspoon of that goes in. And then I'm just gonna beat that together just until it looks kind of sloppy. This is again a part where you'd wanna cream it if you were going fancy, but honestly, it all comes together beautifully. So just cream that together just until there's not too many of those butter clumps, but if there are still some, it'll still work out. Basically, when you're making frangipan, if it looks wrong, you're probably doing it right, which is always a good thing. Now into there, we're gonna start adding in our almonds. So I've got some almond flour here. This is also known as almond meal. Essentially, it's just ground up almonds. You can get this at bulk food stores or in the health section at your grocery store. You can actually find it in the most baking aisles as well. I need about 1½ cups of that right on in. And that's gonna help start binding this delicious kind of almondy fudge situation together. Now, for a little bit more sweetness and a bit more binding power, I'm also gonna add in 3/4 cup of icing sugar. The icing sugar, in addition to that regular sugar, obviously brings some sweetness, but it also has a little bit of cornstarch in it. That's what helps it not clump together too much. So that's gonna help, again, bind this frangipan together. It's gonna be perfect. Now into there, I'm also gonna toss in a little bit of flour. That's sugar. So a 1/3 cup of flour is going in as well. Again, just to bind this and make this a little bit more of a dough. Season that up with a little bit of salt. Perfect. And then you just want to bring that together. You can use a hand mixer. You can do this by hand if you're feeling it. But essentially, you want this to look not like a cookie dough, not like a cake batter, not like a brownie batter. It should just look wrong. And this looks wrong. This looks kind of stiff, kind of liquidy. That is a perfect looking frangipan to me. Essentially, you want it nice and kind of spreadable and fudgy. It's got a little bit of a tackiness to it. So that smells amazing and is gonna be a total dream. So that is done. That's that frangipan filling. So now I'm gonna get to work on the dough. So for the dough, it's a classic dough, so we're starting off with some flour. You can use bread flour or all-purpose here. Since I used all-purpose in the actual filling, I'm just gonna do all-purpose. You need 3½ to 4 cups of that flour into a bowl. If you wanna do this by hand, it's a really easy dough to throw together, but I'm using a stand mixer because it just goes by a little bit quicker. So again, I usually start with 3½ cups just to see how it's going, because you can always add more flour, but it's pretty darn impossible to remove any. So 3½ cups goes in. And then for a little bit of leavening action, you wanna add in some yeast. So you wanna add one of these little sachets. I know most people don't buy the yeast in a jar or your yeast in bulk. If you do, you want about 2 teaspoons, but just one of these little sachets is perfect. And I'm using the quick rise variety, because that way you just dump it straight on into the flour. There's no need to bloom it. There's no need to put it in warm water. It's gonna wake up perfectly in that flour. So to season that up, I need about a teaspoon of salt. Salt doesn't actually stop or kill yeast. It kind of just makes it act a little slower. Slows down the growing up process, makes it taste a little bit better. So give that a little bit of a mix up just to bring that together. And now for the wet ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, I need 3/4 of a cup of warm water, because yeast, you want to wake it up. And when you wake up in the morning, I don't know if you're like me, I want to be a little warm and toasty. So a nice little warm bath just wakes them up, gets them ready to go. So 3/4 of a cup of warm water. For a little bit of richness, 1/2 cup of warm milk is gonna go in there as well. For some sweetness, to give that yeast something to eat when it wakes up, I need about 1/4 cup of honey. I've also made this dough using 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and that is a total dream, especially for kind of a morning vibe. You could also just use sugar as well, but this gives more flavor. Toss in an egg, again, for some richness and deliciousness, and it helps bind things together. And then for added fat, I also want about 2 tablespoons of some oil. I'm just using a canola oil. Any sort of neutral oil will work. You could even use coconut oil. That would work perfectly as well. Butter works as well, but you would want to melt it. And to be honest, it tends to dry out the dough. I know that sounds backwards, but whenever I add butter into a dough, it tends to get stale quicker if I let these go stale, which is rare. But we don't want that. The oil helps a lot. So then you just want to pop your mixer on or mix this by hand just until a nice shaggy dough comes together. Once that's looking shaggy and delicious, you want to set that aside in a greased bowl. Let that rise for about an hour, maybe an hour or 2, until it's doubled in size. And then you end up with something that looks like this, which is a total delight. I love making dough, because this is like the joy of my life right here. So this is my favorite thing you get to do. You get to do a dough punch, which you get your bowl that's nice and fluffy, all that dough. Get your hand, get a nice fist, give it a punch. And then you give yourself a thumbs up, because it was really fun. And I'm very proud of you. Now, you want to turn this dough out onto a lightly floured surface. It's a really nice soft dough, so you do want to use a good amount of flour down. Then you just want to grab your spatula or whatever just to get that beautiful dough. You see all those little bubbles the yeast has made? Like, it's stretchy, it's so soft. If you want to as well, you can make the dough up till the point that you want it to rise and pop it in the fridge overnight to let it rise. Let it go for a few hours and you're good to go. Or just pop it aside for, again, about an hour and it'll double up. Now you just want to roll this out until it's about 14 by 18. You want a nice big rectangle for these buns because you want them to have a good swirl going on. So you just kind of keep flopping it around until you kind of sort of get a rectangle. You get flour everywhere, which is always a good thing. It's a wonder I don't wear aprons more. But I somehow keep clean, so it's always a good thing. All right, we're gonna pretend that is like a 14 by 18 rectangle. That is more of a circle, but you know, what is a rectangle if not a squared off circle? All right, now I'm gonna add that frangipane filling onto there. We've got that fudgy deliciousness. You just wanna spread that down onto this delicious dough. The dough is soft, the frangipane is soft and fudgy. It's gonna be totally dreamy. So as opposed to doing that butter, brown sugar, cinnamon mixture, we're using this almond filling. So you just wanna spread that out just until it reaches the edges. It's so good. Again, if you wanted to add maple syrup into this, that would be amazing. A little bit of cinnamon or nutmeg in here would be a total dream as well. Give you more of that cinnamon bun vibe. Then all you want to do is just roll that baby up just like you would a cinnamon roll. And then if this was longer, I would cut this baby into 12. So we'll cut one off. I'm gonna pop it into a greased pan. Then you just wanna set those babies aside for about an hour until they fluff up. They look almost something like this, which look absolutely out of control. You wanna pop those into a 375 oven for 35 to 40 minutes, and when we come back, these are gonna be baked, and I'm gonna make a glaze. One of my favorite sweet treats just happens to be these little almond croissant buns that smell absolutely out of control. Like, look at these babies. They're so good. That swirl is absolutely perfect. The dough is so fluffy, and they are still warm, which in my opinion is the best way to eat any sort of baked good. So I'm so excited about that. But I want to give them even more of kind of like a cinnamon bun vibe. So while those cool off just a little bit, I'm going to whip up a little bit of a cream cheese glaze. So I've got a 1/4 cup of some cream cheese in this bowl, right? We could do a classic glaze. We could do just butter and sugar, but why not give it a little bit of a tang with some cream cheese? Now I've got a 1/4 cup in this bowl, and I'm using brick style cream cheese because that's usually what I have on hand. But if you have tub style, that'll work. Just don't use the whipped stuff or the like urban garlic. That would not make for a nice little treat, or maybe it would, you know what, you do you, but I do not recommend. So I'm just gonna give this a little bit of a whip up, just to get that cream cheese moving. And I'm just gonna add in some icing sugar. The thing I love so much about this recipe is you use a lot of the same ingredients through every single piece. You've got the sugar, the icing sugar in that mixture in the middle, that frangipane. You've got that delicious flour that's in there and in the dough, and then you've got a little bit of icing sugar in this glaze. So we've got that 1/4 cup of cream cheese. Into there, I'm gonna add a full cup of icing sugar. Now, this is where, remember earlier when I was talking about bragging about how I don't make a mess? And I don't wear an apron? If you've ever used icing sugar before, it ends up everywhere, so let's see how this goes. Okay, ooh, you know what? First I'm gonna add in some liquid. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna add in about 2 tablespoons of some milk. You could also use cream. You want anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons, because that's just gonna thin this out into a glaze as opposed to kind of an icing. Now, to mimic the flavor that's going on in there, I'm just gonna add a tiny, tiny bit of almond extract, just about a 1/4 teaspoon. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then I'm just gonna season that with like just a tiny pinch of salt. And now let's see what mess I make. Let's see, ooh. Okay, you stand really far back. Unless, this is my Mary Berg patented trick, you do this. And the air tastes like sugar. It's like you got a pre-snack, which is a real delight, I'm not gonna lie. All right, this is looking absolutely perfect to me. I think I added just the right amount of milk. If you want this more like a frosting as opposed to a glaze, you can add more icing sugar. Now, unlike when you're making the dough for this bun, where you can't add or take away any of the flour, you can add as much icing sugar, as much milk as you'd like to get the right consistency. So this to me looks, and oh my gosh, that tastes perfect. What a delight. Now, to serve these babies, I like to get this beautiful glaze and just kind of drizzle it right over top. That little bit of that cream cheese tang is absolutely out of control. You can spread this as well if you'd like, but why would you when you can do that? Pop a little bit of some toasted sliced almonds all over top. And honestly, I understand everyone loves an almond croissant. They are totally delish. But when you have an option of having something that looks like this, with that pulley, beautiful dough, I mean, come on. Let you guys keep clapping because this is the best. Oh my gosh, it is warm. That frangipane is fudgy. It's savory and sweet. So in front of me over here, I have 2 different types of omelets. Everyone's had an omelet, right? Yeah. Right? Delish. Love an omelet. Yeah, I like that big yeah, that was good. Now, there are a classic kind of North American style omelet, which is this one. This is the omelet you've gotten if you've gone to a diner. It's the one that if you had like a rough Saturday night, maybe a Sunday morning, always a good thing. It's really tasty and there's a good caramelization. The North American style omelet is fully set eggs. It's got golden brown on the outside, and it's filled with literally anything you'd like. Good heavy stuff like peppers, onions, even ham, tons of cheese. It is very, very good, and it is a big meal in and of itself. But today, I wanted to show you the do's and don'ts of how to make a classic omelet, also known as a French omelet. And that is this little number. It looks completely opposite from the North American variety, but it is truly my absolute favorite omelet. The trick to a French omelet is there is absolutely no golden brown color on it, which sounds kind of strange because golden brown is obviously a delicious color, but it is such a nice softly cooked egg. It's really custardy, it's really creamy. The inside is almost like custard hollandaise, and to me, that is a very good thing. So I'm gonna attempt, it feels very chefy, but it's one of those recipes that the more you make it, the better you get at it. Have I ever made it in front of a studio audience? No. And I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. Things can go wrong, but to be honest, if you're making a French omelet and things start going wrong, you're either gonna end up with a North American omelet or scrambled eggs, which is not a bad thing. So hopefully we're not getting scrambled eggs, but not gonna lie, we might. So I'm gonna start off and show you how to hopefully get that beautiful French omelet. So the first thing I need is 3 eggs. So I'm just using large eggs here, and I'm just cracking those into a bowl. You don't have to use a bowl this big, but this is a good way to kind of get everything nice and broken up. So 3 eggs go right on in. To be honest, sometimes when I'm feeling just like a 2-egg omelet, I do try making a French omelet with 2 eggs. It is tricky though, because it is not enough of that kind of egg custard mixture to blend in and hold everything together. So 3 eggs is the way to go. Now I add a little bit of salt in right away, just to the egg white area, and then I immediately start whisking. If I were to add that salt onto the egg yolks, you can actually cure the egg yolks. This can also happen in baking. Like if you are mixing eggs into sugar, you want to immediately start whisking that together because sugar and salt both act to cure egg yolks, and it makes them almost kind of cook on the outside, kind of like if you're making like ceviche or something like that. Now, for a French omelet, you do want to mix this really well. You're not trying to make it into a souffle or anything like that, but you do want to make it so there's no more kind of like glooby, kind of gloppy egg bits. Does that make sense? You know, delicious terms like that. You want it to be nice and thin and watery. Now, if you are going fully classic, you could strain this through a sieve. That would get out any of those little bits of egg white, but I'm not being that fancy today. Now, typically with an American style omelet, you would add in some milk or cream here, but for a French omelet, just eggs. All you need are eggs, salt, and a good amount of butter. All right, this is looking good to me. You can't see any white anymore. You can't see any just yellow. It's all mixed together. So that is looking great. Now I'm gonna come over here and talk about the pan, because the main ingredient in a French omelet that differs it from a North American omelet is the temperature of the pan. You want this baby to be over like medium-low heat, because you do not want that golden brown color on there. So you do want to use a non-stick pan, your best non-stick pan you have. This is feeling warm, but I'm gonna test it out with some butter. And in classic French fashion, we're going big on the butter, and I'm very excited about it. So in the recipe I've written, use a tablespoon of butter, and a tablespoon of butter would be fantastic. You could also add more if you're really feeling it, because basically what this butter does is it mixes in with the eggs, and it gives you kind of almost like that hollandaise vibe. Now, when I add that butter, oh, this is perfect, I'm not gonna lie. You do not want it to start spitting and melting down immediately. You don't want a ton of smoke, but you do like this little bit of foam. Y'all, I'm feeling good about this. I think I'm gonna do it. She says very confidently, before maybe things go wrong. But honestly, with a French omelet, I guess my main tip is try not to talk while you're doing it. It takes all of about a minute to throw together, but if you're chatting, things can go wrong. You know, though, I have a hard time not talking. So we're gonna give this a go. So that butter is just melting into that pan. I'm gonna keep that heat at around medium-low, just so it stays nice and slow. So now I'm gonna get those eggs and just add them on into that pan. Now at this point, with a traditional omelet, you would kind of mix it up. It'd be hot, it'd be spicy, it would just start kind of caramelizing. But with a French omelet, you can see curds already start forming at the bottom of the pan. But unlike with a traditional omelet, you want to keep moving this. That butter is going to melt into those eggs. This is also my go-to way if I'm making a scrambled egg. Just keep putting butter in it and it's going to taste delicious. Now you just want to keep stirring this until those curds form and it becomes almost like curdy. Like it almost looks like a solid amount of something, almost kind of like if you're making a lemon curd, because we want basically this to keep coming together just until it stops self-leveling out. So if I were to stop shaking, we still have those eggs in the pan doing their thing. I'm gonna be risky, I'm gonna turn the pan up a bit. Y'all, don't do this at home. Keep it low and slow, and just keep on moving that pan. You can already see those eggs are starting to thicken up. And again, it kind of starts turning into like almost lemon curd consistency. That is perfect. Eventually, once this keeps going, those curds will start kind of forming. Now, I do have a question, because this is gonna take a second. Has anyone made a French omelet before in the audience? Oh, we've got one. Okay, I like that. Very, very fancy. Am I selling it to any of you? Okay, good. It feels very chefy. This feels like something I would do. I mean, I haven't been on a first date in about like 15 years, but that's okay. This feels like very first date. Like you're making dinner and you're just making an omelet, chatting away while you wait for your eggs to cook, or do it on TV in front of everybody, and it takes a little longer than you'd think. All right, so if I were to keep going, you would see those curds starting to form together. Again, that egg is getting thicker and creamier. At this point, you could start adding even more butter if you wanted to, but you see there's little bits of eggs starting to form. Basically, you wanna add enough butter so nothing's sticking. Run your kind of spatula around the pan every once in a while, just to bring everything together. Now we're cooking. We're getting a little bit of those curds. All right, then I would just want that to start setting. Once it starts setting, you wanna add on any of your fillings. Like I said, you don't wanna go with heavy fillings. Traditionally, with a French style omelet, you don't wanna add in onions, you don't wanna add in things like that. I do love a little bit of cheese and some fine herbs. So I've got that classic fine herb and garlic cheese, if you know what I'm talking about. The one that I think you put out on like a cheese board tray, but then you end up eating it before your guests get there. It's very, very good. So I'm gonna use a little bit of that and some chives. If you wanted to, you could also, see, here we go. You could also use a little bit of tarragon. That would be really, really nice as well. See those curds all forming? You wanna get everything nice and smooth. Then you'd add on your cheese, and unlike a traditional kind of North American style omelet, as opposed to folding this, you actually wanna roll it together. So at this point, when you see all those curds, I let it sit on the heat for just about a minute, just to set that bottom of the egg. Scatter on some fine herbs if you're feeling it. And then once that's set, you just basically get your spatula and start rolling it over. Again, you don't want any golden brown color. If things go awry, that will turn into scrambled eggs, but they will be the best scrambled eggs you've ever made. And you tell everyone you meant to make scrambled eggs. But over here, we do have a swap of the completed one. Now, this is where you take it to the next level. And if anybody watched the show, The Bear, we're obviously gonna make this into like a The Bear style omelet. So I'm gonna pop on some fresh chives right on top, nice and finely chopped. Y'all get ready. We're also putting some sour cream and onion potato chips on top. You just crush them right over top of that omelet. It sounds wild, but it gives you this crunchy, salty deliciousness. That, a little bit of extra salt on there, and you have got the most delicious omelet you've ever seen. It's creamy, it's custardy. It basically tastes like Eggs Benedict, but in an omelet with chips on it. So you're welcome, world. I am making my blueberry almond muffins, and then I'm gonna make a little bit of maple butter to put on there. How does that sound? Right? Pretty good. I'm very excited about this because I love a muffin, because in my mind, a muffin is an anytime treat. You can have it in the morning and pretend it's breakfast, but it's also kind of dessert because there's a good amount of sugar in it, which is not a bad thing. So I'm gonna get to work on the actual muffin batter here. It's a super simple batter to put together, and it's really, really tasty. So in this large bowl, I'm gonna get to work on the wet ingredients. Anytime you are making a muffin, you do what is called the muffin method, which sounds self-explanatory, but basically it's just mixing everything, mixing the dry, adding it in, throwing it together, and you're good to go. Super duper simple. So I'm gonna go in with, how many tablespoons is this? 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Add that right on in. Now, I like to use melted butter here because it makes the muffins really nice and soft. If you wanted to cream butter and sugar together, you could totally do that. But honestly, I don't have time for that. In the summertime, maybe it's a little hot. I don't want to do that. It's too much work. So melting the butter makes it really easy to come together. Now into there, I'm gonna add in a cup of sugar. Just plain white sugar is all I need. If you wanted to use brown sugar, you totally could. That would give a little bit of a molassy flavor. But I really like white sugar because it gives this really nice, almost crisp to the top of the muffin, that little bit of crust that we love about the muffin top. Now I'm just gonna give that a little bit of a mix together. And now I'm gonna add in my eggs. So I need 2 eggs for this muffin batter. This makes 12 good-sized muffins, and I specifically used 2 eggs in this recipe because if you wanted to, just make 6. Say you're not having guests over, you just want a nice, delicious muffin, you could easily cut this recipe in half. Anytime you see 3 eggs, you're kind of stuck making that size of a recipe because that's just how eggs work. They're really hard to split. All right, give that a little bit of a mix together. And then for some extra kind of moisture and lift in these muffins, I like to add in some yogurt. This also, to me, makes it feel almost more like a breakfast food because there's yogurt in there. Yogurt's good for you, so you're good to go. So I have got a cup of plain yogurt here. Plain yogurt is absolutely perfect for this. Now, I'm not using Greek-style yogurt, but if you wanted to, you could. You could even switch this out for sour cream. That would give them more richness. But plain kind of Balkan-style yogurt is absolutely delish. So just add that right on in. And then to start flavoring this muffin batter up, I'm gonna go in with a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a classic in most sweet things, but I'm also adding in a teaspoon of almond extract. Almond extract is really, really delicious. It tastes almost like, you know how the inside of like an almond croissant tastes? Like it tastes almost kind of like almond liqueur, which is very, very good. So I'm going in with a teaspoon of that. Now, if you do not have a steady hand when measuring, you don't necessarily need to use a measuring spoon for vanilla, but I would for almond because it's a lot stronger. So I'm going in with about a teaspoon That's about there. But again, if you do not have a steady hand, please use a spoon because otherwise this is gonna taste like booze and that's gonna be weird. Weird for a muffin. Not bad, but weird. All right, give that a little bit of a mix together just to bring everything in. And that smells immediately delicious. I love almond extract. And to be honest, if I was making these muffins and I didn't even want them to taste almondy, just the tiniest splash, like 1/8 of a teaspoon of almond with vanilla, somehow makes vanilla taste more like itself as well. It's one of my secret ingredients to my vanilla cake recipe, and everyone's like, how's that taste so good? It's almond extract. You know now, so it's not a secret anymore. But that's okay, that's how it is today. All right, now into this bowl, I'm gonna start working on the dry ingredients. So for the dry, I'm gonna start with all-purpose flour. I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour right on into this bowl. So since I'm doing muffins, I'm not gonna worry about sifting this flour. If your flour is looking extra kind of lumpy, if it's really, really humid, like today might very well be, you could feel free to sift it, just in case you see any lumps. But this is looking pretty good to me today. And as you see, when I measure my flour, I almost like to kind of fluff it up a little bit before I scoop it out. That helps you get a more even kind of cup, so you don't over measure your flour, because then that can make those muffins really, really dense. Now into there, I'm gonna add in a little bit of leavener, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's gonna bring double lift. It lifts when you add in wet ingredients, and it also lifts again when it hits the heat of the oven. Then I'm also adding in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, if anybody's done that, remember that volcano experiment you used to do when you were a kid? With the vinegar and baking soda? That's what the baking soda is gonna do. It's really gonna give lift because of the acidity that's going on in that yogurt. So that's looking great. Now I'm gonna season that up with about 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Anytime I'm cooking or baking, I use kosher salt. Now kosher salt has kind of a bigger grind than something like a sea salt, like a fine sea salt, and it tastes less salty. Gives you really good flavor, but it's not as punchy and oceany and salty. If you were using sea salt, like fine sea salt, I'd go with about 1/4 teaspoon. If you did do 1/2 teaspoon, it would still taste good, just be a little on the salty side. Now I'm gonna give that a mix up. And then if you want here, you can add in some additional flavor. A little bit of cinnamon would be delicious, maybe a little bit of ground ginger, but I think I'm gonna do a little bit of nutmeg. We're calling it shirt nutmeg today. Don't worry, it's all good. I'm gonna eat all these muffins. So I'm going in with some freshly grated nutmeg. Now, freshly grated nutmeg makes everything kind of taste like an old-fashioned donut, which is obviously the best flavor any time of day. If you only had pre-ground nutmeg, feel free to use that, but freshly grated, again, gives you the most kind of lemony, delicious flavor, and it tastes like a donut, which is always a good thing. All right, popping that down, give that a mix up as well. And now I'm gonna bring those wet and dry ingredients together. So just add those dry ingredients all at once straight on into the wet ingredients and give that a mix together. So right now this is a good basic muffin batter that kind of is gonna taste almost sort of like a donut. It's got that nutmeg in there, that little bit of almond extract matches so well with that. But to bring in that blueberry flavor, I've got 1 to 1.5 cups of fresh blueberries here. Now, if you have a stand like I have, feel free to go to that one and use those wild blueberries that are usually so tiny and so juicy and delicious. I've just got some store-bought here. They're gonna be perfect. But if you wanted to use frozen blueberries, you could do that as well. Just make sure they are still frozen when they go into this batter. If they are not, this whole batter will be purple, which is not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily what I'm going for today. So I'm going in with those blueberries, just scatter them on in, and give that a mix just to combine. Now, this is a tip that I feel like a lot of people who don't bake a lot don't know, but since we are kind of agitating this and developing a little bit of gluten, I actually wanna set this batter aside. So I'm gonna set it aside in the fridge for an hour or even up to overnight. That's gonna allow that baking powder to kind of develop, and then it's also gonna relax the gluten that I've agitated. It's also gonna allow that gluten to kind of get a little bit more stretchy, so it's gonna give you nice tall tops on your muffin. So just set that aside in the fridge. It's also great if you wanna get your muffin batter done yesterday and bake fresh muffins today without having to make muffins. Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm just setting that aside, and I'm gonna get to work on a really, really quick streusel topping. So in a bowl here, I need 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So that brown sugar gives you that molassesy flavor. It's really tasty and delish. And then to give it that kind of crumbly texture that I'm looking for, I'm going in with 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Now, 6 tablespoons for any of those measurement heads out there is 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna add that right on in. And then I'm gonna season that again with a little bit more nutmeg, a little bit of salt just to kind of cut through that sweetness of that sugar. Give that a mix together, and I'm just going in with my hands. Now, for a little bit of added extra crunch, I've also got some slivered almonds here, just about half a cup of those. You could also use sliced almonds if you wanted. You could go in with any sort of nut if you weren't doing an almond muffin. Give that a mix. Then I'm gonna go in with some melted butter. So I've got a 1/4 cup of melted butter here that I'm just gonna pour over top. Give that a mix just until it's nice and kind of crumbly. You could use your hands here if you wanted to, but basically what you're looking for is something that's a little dusty, a little crumbly, and looking totally delicious. Now all I need to do to get these muffins together, I've got my rested batter, I've got that streusel mixture, is grab some sort of disher or 2 scoops and just scoop it into a prepared muffin tin. You see that batter is nice and stiff now, so that's gonna rise up absolutely beautifully. Add a little bit of that streusel right on top. I'm gonna keep scooping these muffins, but we gotta take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna make that maple butter that I promised you guys. We are back in the kitchen, and I am feeling very summery and very delicious right now. So we are making my blueberry almond muffins. We've got that lovely streusel on the top. Those muffins are perfectly baked, a little golden brown around the edges. So those were in a 375 oven for about 20 to 23 minutes. Because of the amount of baking powder and baking soda and that yogurt, they actually rise and bake up really nice and quickly. So you're not waiting a long time for delicious fresh baked muffins. Always a good thing. And again, with that tip of making the batter a day ahead, popping it in the fridge, you can have fresh baked muffins without having to make muffins, which is always a good thing. You're past you made muffins though, so you can thank them later. All right, now to go with those, I am going to make a delicious maple butter. So anytime in the, I know I love a maple. Anytime in the summer, if I am at the cottage, if I am on the weekend and wanting to make something delicious, I love maple syrup in there. Now maple syrup is more of kind of like a spring thing, but that's why we eat it throughout the summer, because it's harvested in the spring and it lasts all year. So I have got half a cup of butter in this bowl, and that is at room temperature, because I basically just want to beat this together. Now, if anyone has ever had honey butter. This is a similar method to making honey butter. So you just want to give it a little bit of a mix just to loosen that butter up a little bit. If you wanted to, you could use a hand mixer, but just like with those muffins, you don't need to. Just give it a little bit of a mix up. And then you're going to add in your maple syrup. This is a very simple recipe. It is literally maple syrup and butter, and then some added flavors if you're feeling it. So I'm going to go in with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, just to give it that beautiful kind of ambery flavor of maple. I personally love maple syrup. It's kind of got that like, what is it? Kind of smoky flavor. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you get a good maple syrup. When I was a kid, fun fact, didn't like real maple syrup. I know. I wanted like the sugar stuff, but kids are silly, you know, every once in a while. So I'm just gonna give that a mix up. You can switch to a whisk if it's not coming together. But again, even if it doesn't, this is gonna give you like pancakes flavor on pretty much everything you're going for. But now if you want to kind of add a little bit more deliciousness into this mix, I'm gonna toss in a bit of that delicious nutmeg, just to kind of mimic the flavors that are going on in those muffins. I've now made a cage for my butter though. Whisks are the cage for food. So this is what it looks like an ice cream cone, but it's butter and syrup, so it's always good. Now I'm gonna go in with a little bit of that nutmeg, that freshly grated nutmeg, just to mimic the flavor going on in those muffins. Just a few passes over my microplane or my rasp gives you that beautiful, again, donut flavor. And then as opposed to using kosher salt in here, this is when I'm gonna bust out my fancy sea salt. The stuff that's nice and kind of coarsely ground, that's gonna give you little flakes and flecks of pop and flavor as you eat this delicious butter, if you can get it out of your whisk cage. This is my trick. You go like this, and you gotta open a portal, and then you do this. And hope, there you go, we got it. Yeah, nicely done. Fantastic, Mary Berg. You're a professional cook, okay. All right, just give that a mix, and that is looking totally dreamy. Now, I like to leave it at room temperature, but if you are gonna store this, just roll it up into a log in some parchment paper or plastic wrap, and you've got that delicious maple butter whenever you want it. So now I'm gonna dig in, and this is where I get to choose which muffin I want. And it is, honestly, it's this one, that corner. This is the one that I'm going for. All right, We've got those beautiful slivered almonds on there. It is still warm from the oven. If you want to go really kind of coffee shop, you can get those nice tall liners that are almost square. Really, really beautiful. We've got it chock-a-block full of blueberries, which looks out of control. Then you get a little bit of that amazing maple butter. Spread that right on top. And let me tell you, this is summer in a bite. I am very excited. Okay, let's give it a taste. Oh my gosh. It is soft, it is sweet. Those blueberries, a little bit of nutmeg. Make this on your bacon list for sure this summer. You guys all look so excellent. Are you excited to cook? Give me a big thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, this is gonna be so excellent. We're gonna be making one of my childhood favorites. But before we get into that, I hear that Lily has a question for me.
Hi, Mary.
Hey, Lily, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. You have an excellent apron on, so I'm feeling even better right now.
Thank you.
So, Lily, what's your question?
I was just wondering, I love your style so much. I love all the bright colors and patterns you wear.
Oh my God.
And I love seeing bright colors. They just make me so happy. I was wondering, why do you pick to dress in bright colors?
Oh my gosh, honestly, Lily, I think it's probably the same reason. I've always loved showing how I'm feeling with my clothes, and bright colors just makes me, I'm the exact same as you. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel in a good mood. It's kind of sort of also like art, you know what I mean? Which cooking is kind of like art too. So you get to like put stuff on, feel good about yourself, and start your day. I love that question. That was so cool. Also, are these braids in your hair?
They are.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, those are excellent. I love them. So good. Thank you for your question, Lily. I'm so excited to cook with you. All right. Yeah. Now, is everybody ready to get cooking? Feeling good? Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. That is the energy that I'm looking for on this March break. Okay, so we are gonna be cooking up one of my all-time faves as a kid. We are making classic pancakes with a couple of delicious fixings. Do we like pancakes?
Yeah!
Yes. Okay, this is, honestly, I need y'all in my kitchen all the time because this is perfect energy. Okay, so first off, we are actually gonna start with a sauce because I don't know if you guys know I really like sauce. And on a pancake, I also like maple syrup, things like that, maybe a little bit of nut butter, but I wanted to start off with something a little bit fruity, something like a little bit of a berry sauce. So this is a super easy way to make any sort of fruity sauce out of basically just frozen fruit and a little bit of sugar. So I have got some frozen fruit here. I'm just using a berry blend. Does everybody have their favorite berries? Ready to go?
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. We got some blueberries. We got different blenders. I'm feeling strawberries. All right, so we're gonna pour these into a blender or a bowl. You can use a regular stand blender like I'm using here, but if you wanted to, you could also use an immersion blender, which I feel like we've got one as well. A smoothie blender would be perfect. So just pour those 2 cups of berries, as well as any juices, right on into your blender. And then into there, I'm gonna add in a little bit of sugar. Everybody got their thing in the blend? Oh yeah, you guys are faster than me. I gotta hurry up. Okay, so we're gonna add in a little bit of powdered sugar. That's gonna sweeten things up a little bit, make it a little more like March break, spring break. So you're gonna add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of sugar, depending on what your parents say. I'm gonna go 1/2 cup, because my mom's not here. So we're gonna do that. And I'm just gonna add that on into the blender as well. And then for a little bit of extra flavoring, I'm gonna add in a little bit of vanilla extract. And vanilla extract gives this kind of sort of like an ice creamy vibe. It makes it really nice and tasty and sweet. This lid is really tight on. There you go, got it. Add that in. I feel like lids are not issues for the young. They are issues for the older. And lids are always my nemesis. All right, perfect. Now I'm gonna blitz this up until it's nice and smooth. Is everybody ready? Get those lids on or your blender in. All right, this is looking, oh, we've got this. This is looking perfect. Basically what we've made is a sweet, delicious kind of smoothie. So what I wanna do now, if you used something like peaches that you thawed in the fridge overnight, that would be perfect. But since we used berries, I am gonna strain this because that gets rid of all of those seeds. But if you wanted those seeds in there, you can feel free to keep them in. But basically you've just got like a fine mesh sieve, something you'd use for like pasta or anything like that, and just pour that sauce right on through. You can see how thick and delicious and rich that's gonna taste like. Now, if you wanted to as well, you could even pop in a little bit of cinnamon, some nutmeg. If you really like coconut, you could do coconut extract in there, which would be delicious with peaches, actually. But if it's not coming through that sieve, grab a spoon. Oh, Lily knows what's up. She's tapping it. You can tap it or grab a spoon and just give it a stir. As soon as you start stirring it, more of that stuff should fall out the bottom, just kind of like a stream. So basically just get all of that through there. You can also just set this aside and let it do its thing. So I'm gonna give it a bit of a stir, but then I'm also just gonna let it do its thing because we're gonna move on to some pancakes. Does this look good? Oh my gosh, all these sauces look so, wait, before we move on to pancakes, does everybody wanna do my favorite thing in the kitchen? Tasting.
That's a lot of ginger.
That's a lot. Let's give it a taste. Let's give it a taste, okay? What are we thinking? Oh, that's delicious. Oh, that's very good. Feeling good? Does everyone like it? Nice, perfect. We got fingers in there, we got spoons, we got it all.
It's delicious.
Nice. Well, okay, speaking of, Miss, I must ask you, is your name Lyric?
Yes.
Yes. Lyric, how are you?
Good.
Good. Lyric, how old are you?
7.
You're 7, and is it not almost your birthday?
Yes.
So-
I also have your cookbook.
You have my cookbook? No way. Well, do you also have a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah, what is it?
If you could have one meal in the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, one meal for the rest of my life. Honestly, Lyric, I have to say it might be my mom's mac and cheese. But if I'm really being honest with you, it would probably be popcorn. I really like popcorn. If I could just eat popcorn forever, I would be the happiest person. What about you, Lyric?
Mine would be popcorn.
Yeah, Lyric, that's a good answer.
I have another question.
Oh, well, you know what? We're gonna ask that question. Oh yeah, what is it?
Can we?
We're going.
This.
We're gonna move on to the pancakes.
Perfect. So we're gonna get started on those pancakes. So I've got a bowl here. Everybody's ready to go. So into a big bowl, I wanna add in some flour. Pancakes are super easy. They're really, really tasty. We need 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour into a large bowl. So just measure those babies out. Give it a little bit of a shimmy. To be honest, pancakes are pretty hard to mess up. So if you measure a little wrong, they're still gonna work out fine. They're still gonna be delicious and wonderful. And that's the great thing about being in the kitchen is you can kind of like decide how to do things, make it your own, and it's still probably gonna be pretty good. Now, for a little bit of sweetness, I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of sugar, just plain sugar. If you wanted to cut back on that sugar, you could add in 1 tablespoon. You could even cut it out altogether, but I like that little bit of sweetness. It also helps for some golden brown. Now, into there, I'm also gonna add some stuff that's gonna help rise these pancakes up and make them nice and fluffy. So the first thing I need is a teaspoon of baking powder, which is basically something that makes things fluffy and really, really nice. Then I'm also gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, which does a similar thing to baking powder, but it reacts quicker. So into here, I'm also gonna add in just a little bit of salt, just about 1/4 teaspoon, because that's gonna kind of give a little bit of balance into these babies. Now grab your whisk, give that a whisk together. That's all the dry ingredients done. If you wanted to here, you could add in some cinnamon. That would be amazing. Really anything you'd like that's dry and tastes good, feel free to pop that in. But now we're gonna move on to the wet ingredients. So I've made a bit of a well in the center. And into there, I need to add in 1 1/2 cups of buttermilk. Now, if you have regular milk, you can also use that. Oops. The lid's not on great. That was close. So be careful, everybody. But buttermilk is really nice and tangy. If you don't have buttermilk, regular milk will work too. Even plant-based milk will work. But 1 1/2 cups is what you're looking for. Buttermilk is nice. It gives a bit of a tang to everything. So add that on into the bowl, along with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Butter makes everything better, as we all know, right, everybody? It's delicious. So I'm gonna add that on in, as well as 1 egg. That's gonna help bring everything together. Now, is everybody a good egg cracker? Oh, I'm seeing it. This is the scariest part. Oh my gosh. Nice job. Oh my gosh, good job. Nice, Lyric. Dump that egg on in. We got it. Perfect. Now I'm gonna add in a little bit of vanilla as well. That's gonna go right on in. I put in a lot of vanilla, you do you. And then we're gonna mix this up. And this is a hard part for me, is you don't wanna mix it too much. You just wanna mix it until it's still a bit lumpy. It sounds backwards, it sounds like you're doing something wrong, but give it just a few stirs around the bowl. just until it's kind of combined, but you can still see lumps. This is perfect. I need to stop. This is where I have issues in the kitchen. I want to keep going, which is, you know, I can't do that. We got to keep going and make pancakes. So I've got my batter all done. I've got a pan over here. Everyone, those look great. Still leave a couple of those lumps in there. Also, good whisks, everybody. I will say, Lily, I love your little whisk. It's so cute. Feeling good? Okay, perfect. Now I'm gonna move on to cooking some pancakes. We're gonna get there together. I'm gonna put a little bit of butter into my pan. Now, this is over medium heat. If you wanted to, you could use oil, but I'm gonna go in with just a little pat of butter or a lot of butter, depending on what you want. Swish that around just to melt it. And this is something that if you need help, definitely get your mom or dad or whoever you're with to help you out. My pan's a little bit hot. Then you just wanna get that batter, pop it into those pans. You see those little bubbles in the batter already? Just a little dollop. And this is where you get to have extra fun. You get to put in whatever you'd like. If you want some blueberries in there, pop those on top. I love a blueberry pecan pancake. If you want like a chocolate chip banana pancake, we could also do that. You could put a little face in there too. Or if you really want to go bonkers, y'all, get your pancake batter, put it in a little line, and this is, just stick with me, everybody. If you're a savory and sweet person, get a strip of bacon, pop that on there, maybe a little more batter on top to close that in, and then let those babies cook until little bubbles appear around the sides. They pop, and they're gonna be perfect for flipping. Now, we gotta keep making these pancakes. Y'all are doing such a great job. When we come back, we're gonna dig in. We are making pancakes together with all the delicious Fixins. This is such a fun way to spend time with the kids during spring break, and it's just like delicious and wonderful. So we've got our pancakes here. First off, I want everybody to give a go. Can everybody do a flipperoo with these pancakes? I'm gonna give it a go too. Grab your little pancake. 1, 2, 3, flip! Ooh, yeah, pretty good. Nicely done. And honestly, guess what the best thing about pancakes? The messier they are, the better they taste. So I'm feeling really good about it. All right.
Mary's amazing.
Mary's amazing. Lyric? You wild. I love this. Yeah, this is excellent. Now, first off, while these pancakes just finished cooking up, Liana has a question for me. Hey, Liana, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. I love your shirt.
Thank you.
It's so cool. So what was your question for me?
If I want to be a good cook like you when I get older, what should I do to get?
Oh my gosh, Liana, that's a really good question. Honestly, I think when you're in the kitchen, you just have to be okay with making a mistake every once in a while. I'm someone who I love making things perfect and doing everything right, but in the kitchen, it's the one place where you get to kind of make mistakes, and maybe you burn a pancake or flip it kind of funny, or maybe your chicken or your pizza doesn't taste as good as you want it to, but you're gonna learn every single time you cook, and I love that. So if you like learning, then you're gonna be a great cook no matter what.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, Liana. That was a great question. All right, so we've got our pancakes here. I've got those ones continuing to cook. And one of my biggest tips anytime I am making pancakes is pop your oven on to 200 degrees and keep the cooked ones warm. Now, studio audience / people at home / all of my new friends here, these are perfect, and someone else designed these. These are my pancakes. So depending on what they look like, honestly, you do you. These guys, are they circles? No. Are they delicious? Yes. Moral of the story, it's always gonna be good. So I've got my pancakes here, and we're gonna plate them up now. So this is where you get to make more art. You can use your pancakes to make a design. You can use your sauces. We've got that delicious berry sauce that we made. I've also got like a chocolatey, nutty sauce here that's made with just a little bit of chocolate, some cream, and a little bit of whatever nut butter you like. And I've also got classic maple syrup and butter. So now to plate these babies up, you can do whatever you'd like. I'm gonna do a classic stack. All right, keep on plating those pancakes. I wanna see what they look like. I'm gonna top mine off now. So I've got my very interestingly shaped pancakes, which I'm very excited about. I'm gonna pop a little bit of butter on those ones just to melt down over those, and maybe just do a classic maple syrup right on those. which looks like a total dream. And in my opinion, if those pancakes aren't swimming in maple syrup, you're not doing it right. And then over here on these ones, we've got that beautiful berry sauce that is gonna make them bright and fresh. If you had a can of whipped cream, I would not be mad at you if you put that on here too. That is gonna be a total dream. Maybe a little dollop of that chocolate sauce too, right on top. I mean, to be honest, that looks absolutely delicious. Oh my gosh, Lyric! Those pancakes look amazing. We've got a can of whipped cream. This is the best. All right, everybody, can I see those pancakes? Are we feeling good about them? Want to hold them up to the camera for me? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Y'all, I gotta watch out for my job. This was beautifully done. Now we get to do my favorite part and we get to dig in. Everybody ready to taste? Give them a go. Okay, I'm going in for this one. Obviously a little bit of butter on there. Everyone ready to go? Oh, we got polite eaters. I'm into this. Nailed it. Also, you could pick it up with your hand. I'm not your parent, but I'm gonna tell you. Do they look good? One, oh yeah, Cohen did it. We got this. Okay, let's do this thing. Oh my gosh, was that good?
That's one of the best pancakes we've had in a long time.
Oh, best pancakes we've had in a long time. Lucky. All right, everybody, maybe give me 2 thumbs up. This has been so much fun cooking with you guys. Have the best March break. Thank you so, so much for making pancakes with me. This was so fun. Bye, guys. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.